This project is extraordinary. It does not happen without Mayor Blangiardi and his passion. We've been working together now hand in hand as brothers for several years. And as you see, this is not our first rodeo. There are a lot of these examples where we are going to care for people who are in need. So today we're announcing the ʻAʻala Respite opening, and there's a lot to share, but let me do this somewhat methodically. First, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this. Great to see the C.O.R.E team. Great to see our dearest friend, Dr. Miskovich. Misko, awesome. Makes it killer. And same for you. Ireland, fantastic. This kind of partnership is the only way we make a big dent in the homeless challenge. And so by the county working hand in hand with the state and vice versa, we're there. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a very special person. Yesterday we had the celebration of life for Twinkle. Twinkle inspired us. She years ago brought us into the universe that she had been experiencing over in Waianae. She showed us how much struggle there was in that community, how if you built communities like you see here, you actually can begin to really reduce people's harm and struggle. But it is just extraordinary what she offered us. And so as we announce More Kauhale, we always remember her. We remember that it was never perfect in her world, but it was a way to help people. And John and I talk about this all the time. Brooke and I talk about this. So she, as an advocate, has inspired us, and she gave voice to the thousands of those who have need here in our islands. So she was our leader, she was our heart, and we're going to continue to honor her. Now, we're working particularly hard with Mayor Blangiardi to tackle the challenges here on Oʻahu. This is yet another tool in our arsenal to fight people who just haven't had access to health care, and they've been on the streets. There have been decades of work in Iwilei, with Kaliʻipalama, the Chinatown community. They've faced hundreds and hundreds of individuals on the street without necessarily a place to go, and we see it every time we drive down the street. But now you can see this is essentially a fortress of safety, of recovery, of rest, of top quality healthcare services because of Dr. Miskovich's team, who come with great experience over the years, having been with us from the very start. The early visions of just across the way, the H4 concept, the street medicine concept with so many other leaders like Koyanagi and others. But we're now really seeing multiple opportunities here for people to get care. So we're grateful to all of these partners. I do think it would be impossible to do this without you, Dr. Ireland. You know, Jim has been there with his team, making sure that we can actually reach out to people. And to lead a total change in the system, we've needed this partner. So Jim, thank you. It's fabulous. And he's going to come up and give us his whole scoop. I will remind people that individuals who are on the streets suffer so badly they lose 3 decades of life until they get a roof over their head and the health care that Scott can deliver with his team. Then they are restored to a healthy capacity. They still may have challenges. They may need hospice care, as Scott pointed out to me. I'll let you dive into those things, Misko, but they otherwise will be in and out of Straub, in and out of Queens, or pass away on the streets. About 1 person a day, historically, would be passing away on the streets without this kind of care. And that is just not what a civilized society should offer. And so it's exciting to see this critical facility come into the Iwilei area. We're getting very dense here in the region with multiple different services. So no one could say that we haven't thought through this problem. Now we need people to understand and accept the care, accept the partnership. It's very exciting to see some of our clients wearing professional badges, accepting care, helping to educate their fellow men and women on the street about what can be offered here in a compassionate way. These 32 medical respite beds will help so many people with their medical needs, with their psychiatric needs. I'll tell you, they will return to society in a healthier way if they have this opportunity for care. So thank you, guys. Again, thank you for this partnership, Mayor. We absolutely would never be able to accomplish what we are now. I was reflecting with Brooke yesterday. We had 1 of these with the previous administration, and now we're headed towards, it's 12 verging on 18 different kauhale across the state, and we're trending towards 30 now. There will be 30 kauhale, each with a slightly different focus and mission, but with a fundamental heart from the vision of Twinkle, from these great leaders, to care for those who are in great need on our streets. And that's how you ultimately address the challenge of homelessness in your community and show that you truly love and care for people, as does the next speaker.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for everyone for being here today. You know, when the mayor came into office, all of us in this city and county of Honolulu, as well as all across the country, we were in and coming out of COVID, and that was the priority. But homelessness was still here, and it was a issue here just like it was in many cities across the country. And through Anton Krucke's leadership, he's here today, he was tasked with finding a better way. And through those meetings and with Sam Moku and others, we came up with the C.O.R.E team. And the C.O.R.E team was something new. It wasn't really done exactly like this anywhere else in the country. So a trailblazing, and a credit to the C.O.R.E team and John Kanaulu, the supervisors here, and what they've done. But what we learned is there were people who were too sick to go into shelters. They had wounds, they had amputations, they were in heart failure, they were on dialysis. They just couldn't go into the existing shelters or into Honu, which was also innovative. So they would go to the ERs, but they were not sick enough necessarily to stay in the hospital. And they had difficulty following up with a primary care, or even the federally funded health centers. They had trouble getting into those, so they'd get off their medicines. And what we had was this cycle of streets, EMS, ER, then back to the streets, EMS, ER, round and round. And so we knew very early that we needed to do something different. And this center here, this Respite at ʻAʻala, is the answer, and we may even be duplicating these across the island. You know, this has only been open for a few months, but it's been extremely successful, and I've looked at the data. We randomly took 20 patients, 20 of the early patients that were admitted here. Of those 20, one of them had 37 911 calls to EMS in the year before they came here. One of them had 25 calls to EMS. Now, when you look at that, and 70% of them had some contact with EMS or C.O.R.E. All those are ER visits. All those are ambulance transports. All of those involve EMS, the police, sometimes the fire department. All of that generates cost to EMS, to the ER, hospitalizations. And just those 20, I roughly estimated they generated $1 to $2 million or more in healthcare costs in the year prior to coming here. So when they get here, now we have a place to bring people. They can see a doctor. They can get on the right medications. We can interrupt that cycle of streets, ER, back to the streets. And it will ultimately save lives. It will take care of people, but it will also save millions of dollars in unnecessary healthcare costs, because EMS and ER is the most expensive way to get health care. For emergencies, it's absolutely the way to go. But many of these calls were for wounds, high blood sugars, minor psychiatric problems, stuff that really could be dealt with in the outpatient setting. So because there's a physician here, because there's medical staff, because they're on site every day, folks get the care they need, and we've short-circuited that. Now, I see this model as unique, and we could potentially be a trailblazer for the rest of the country, in that our medically fragile homeless population can come here, get better, and then from here, this is a transient place to stay. They can then get placed in the most appropriate setting. That may be a kauhale, that may be in permanent housing, but it also may be in a adult residential care facility or even a nursing home. Because the folks here, I've looked at the data, they're medically fragile. They have diabetes, they have heart failure. There's patients here on dialysis. They have mental health issues, and Dr. Miskovich can go into more of that. But these are the folks who, prior to this being open, were the folks who were up and down King Street, who were in our parks. And so I think this model is groundbreaking. I'm extremely appreciative to the mayor, to the governor, to Dr. Miskovich, Anton, Sam, the C.O.R.E team. Ian, our deputy here, and just everyone who has participated in making this facility what it is today and what it will be. And just one more tool for the city and county to tackle a problem that, despite everybody's best efforts, has eluded solving up until now. But we are on track to really make a huge difference on Oʻahu. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Green, and thanks everybody for being here right now. I'm going to go a little, I have no script, so I'm going to go a little off script. I'm going to go three months ago. I get a call from Jim. I get a call from the mayor's office and get into an emergency meeting. And I sit down there, and I'm again going to go really off script because I've known this guy here for a while, and I know him before. And I sit down, and the coach took over, and the coach basically took that meeting over, and the hands were going. And he said, we have to do something different. It's time that something happens. And we have a full table of people. And essentially by the end of that meeting, since, my life is sports and I played football in college, I wanted to strap up my shoulder pads and get my chin strap on and run out and say, yeah, because he motivated everybody. And that's the kind of leader that we're dealing with. But it was his attitude, and goes back to our prior experience before he was mayor. He and I and Josh were working over here and developing the nonprofit and designing the H4. So, and then immediately John Mizuno, Josh Brook, the whole team was involved, and it was just an immediate coordination, which I think in our political environment doesn't always happen, where the mayor, the governor, everybody in the legislature talks, but everybody was on target for this project. And man, since I'm here now, I really know why. And I've been working on homelessness for at least 15, 18 years, but we have very, very ill people. I'm just going to give you just a little bit of overview to expand on what Jim just said. We have 3 people that were homeless that we're transporting to dialysis. We have 5 people that have current or recent cancers. We have 2 people that have what's called the ejection fraction, or how much their heart beats, that is under 15%. We probably have another 8 to 10 that are under 20 or 25%. We have almost every patient has a list of medications that they're on is this long. Almost every patient has dual diagnosis of whether it's prior mental illness or they have prior substance abuse. And one of the things that the mayor and Jim said to me is, we need a place that doesn't say no, because there are so many facilities that, no, we can't do that, no, we can't take that. So that's what this is. This is a place that is ready to care for all of our homeless, no matter how sick and ill they are. So we have Dr. Duclo here in the back, leaning against the wall, our full-time physician, who is a superstar, family physician. He's here full-time. Have full-time medical staff. This is a medical facility. We usually have 1 to 2 RNs with Dr. Duclo, medical assistants, case manager. Every person is treated like an individual. Every person, when they come in, you see they all have their name tags. That's nice. They have an identity. They love that, with their picture on it. They all have an electronic medical record, so they now are individualized, where we can transfer their records. We go into HHIE, which is the broad statewide health information exchange, and we pull up all their hospital admissions and all their pharmacy data. So we really now have a concept of who these people are and how ill they are, which is really important. Unfortunately, I would say that 2 or 3 of these patients have a life expectancy under 12 to 14 months. I would say another 10 have a life expectancy probably under 2 to 3 years. So as Dr. Ireland alluded to, they are very ill. They're barely surviving, living on the streets. And I know that our state won't stand for that. This is 2024. We have one of the best healthcare systems. We care about people in this state, and that's what you're seeing from these leaders. That's what you've just seen. We're going to find a way. They should not be dying in the street. We need to find a way to not let these people suffer. And I wish you could be able to talk to these people, because they have now an identity. They feel like somebody cares for them. And I couldn't be more proud of helping these people, but I know our job is just beginning. But so thank you to everyone, and thanks for being here.
Well, let me just start off by saying it's easy to motivate when you're inspired by your players, okay? And I would tell you, I want to start off with Governor Green. This has been a partnership. It will be a partnership. In fact, the only way it works is it's a partnership. It became very clear to me early on the city itself did not have enough resources to deal with this, didn't have access to the kind of money that could help us provide this, or for that matter, the state in and of itself didn't have the capability that the city could add to that. So, look, we've all gotten used to saying the word homeless. Doesn't sound so harsh. As you just heard from Dr. Miskovich, it's about people suffering and dying on our streets. It's bad enough that our streets are not a home for anybody, but to have people out there suffering, who are sick, who are terminal, out there, and we walk by, we drive by, we look the other way, is unacceptable to us as a people, as a society, and for all the pride we take in who we are in Hawaii and on this island. So this is about that. About 100 yards away sits another building, Evil A Center, that we bought. It's the largest deal in the history of the city. They're going to put 100 beds in there. There's going to be 64 here. But I will tell you, it's our partnership. I know everybody's already been talked to. John Mizuno's standing over there. Sam Moak was there. Anton Krucky's here. I'm not going to bring him up, but you just heard from Dr. Miskovich, his passion, his caring. You heard from Governor Green, his passion, his caring, with all the things that the governor has to do. The fact that this is occupying a lot of our time and our spirit. Because you know why? Because our homeless population, the people suffering on the street, represent less than 1% of the people on this island. Yet I can promise you the other 99% of the people are very, very aware. And they're hoping somebody will do something about that. And if not us, who? And that's the commitment that we've made together. We need to be the ones to step up and make this happen. So I'm very thrilled. We bought this bank and we bought that facility over there. It's part of a great grand plan for urban revitalization tied to the rail when it finally comes to town, and what we're going to do in Evil A. It's a transformation. But in the interim, these are incredible facilities, and we're going to be doing more of that. You heard Governor Green talk about that. So I want to just acknowledge the fact that I couldn't have a better partner in Dr. Jim Ireland. I mean, these are people who this really matters. It matters to all of us. I want you to know that. There's nothing casual about this happening, and nobody has any agenda today for being here, and that includes the governor, Dr. Miskovich, Jim Ireland, and everybody else that I just meant, to do anything more than help these people who are so deserving, so needy, who can't help themselves, for the sake of our society, for the sake of the other 99% of the people who are saying, please do something about this. Do something about it. And we are, and we're doing it in a humane way. I love the fact that we're doing some things here that are really innovative. We knew the compassionate disruption wasn't working. That doesn't mean we don't do security and health sweeps. We're doing some of that. It's not even sweeps. We're just making sure we protect people. But this is our agenda right now. So with that, we'll answer any questions. We've got a great team here. I appreciate you being here today. This is important stuff. Governor Green, come on up. Dr. Miskovich, Jim, Anton, why don't you come up? John, Sam, thank you. Okay. Anybody, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, this is Summer with Hawaii now. My question was, I covered the ʻAʻala facility that opened back
Yep.
in June.
Right.
How different is this facility to that one?
Okay, so I'll let Jim answer that.
So conceptually, it's similar in the sense that ʻAʻala has 20 beds for medically fragile patients. ʻAʻala, though, the intake process is a little different. They need to be ruled out for COVID. They need to be ruled out for TB. There's a little more in-depth assessment if they'd be appropriate for the respite. So usually it takes about 48 hours or so to get a patient into the Leahi Respite, whereas this one, not only can they come straight off the streets, they can come via C.O.R.E. They also come straight from the ERs or the hospital upon discharge, and maybe Dr. Miskovich can talk more about that. But one of the challenges to making this the most successful it can be is the output, where people go from here, and maybe Sam or one of the others can talk about that. But we feel the flow will be into this respite first, and then maybe from here to the Leahi Respite, because they have a physician here, they can do that head-to-toe assessment, get them on the right medications, and then move them over to the Leahi Respite. So very similar, but again, this one is more straight off the streets, whereas Leahi is a little more they need to go somewhere else maybe first. And I don't know, maybe somebody else, Anton or somebody, can talk about the output. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ireland. So what we're seeing today is one of a series of events that we're doing that each is going to be unique, and we're going to spread it around the island. So you have Leahi, which is one part of the island. We have a concentration of facilities here, but really the goal isn't to house all homeless, because some homeless, as we're seeing here and Dr. Miskovich talks about, have medical treatment needs. And so we've got about 8 different locations that are doing medical treatment around the island. And so really and they each have their own specialty, like this has their specialty. But it's important to note, I think, that in this series of events that we're spreading these items around the island. So we'll be doing, next month you'll see us up in Wahiwa working with families, right? You'll see us in Hauula working with families. We're going to move our Honu operation that's at Blaisdell Park, and we're going to move that up to Kapolei. So we're really trying to look at different places we can do things, and I think we all witnessed Waikiki Vista and the good work the Catholic Charities is doing there. So again, the mayor and the governor working together has totally empowered us to be able to bring a series of events that we can do, each specialized to address different markets of our homeless population. It's been specialized, it's strategic, and again, you're going to see more and more of it throughout the year.
Let me add something too. Let's go. We've seen a particular success, though, where there's a healthcare provider or healthcare provider team right on the ground. So we saw a lot of success similar to what we're now seeing with Dr. Miskovich right across from Queens with those 12 units, which we had for about 8 months. We'll eventually do that again. When it's no barrier, you see results. And that's why this gentleman is kind of Coach's go-to doc on this one, because when you have someone that will just say yes, and you are just around the corner from where the patient is residing, it's going to work. Also, everyone should remember, patients or individuals with this many complex medical problems are typically spending $80,000 to $100,000 a year of resources because they constantly have to go in and out of the hospital. This is so much more effective and efficient by preventing those kind of circumstances. And so this is an enormous win for the people and then for the state.
I do want to add one thing, and that is that everyone that does come is COVID tested. But also, we should have a little asterisk. This is a healthcare respite and urgent care. So we have 2 beds in there. Anything that can be done in an urgent care is done here. Injectable antibiotics, IVs. We have wound care that we're doing for homeless that are not our residents. They'll come through and we'll do wound care for them. To highlight what Jim said and what the governor said, C.O.R.E has been our best part. It's amazing. So they are so good. We have a great morning discussion with them, and then through the day, they can call us, and from a phone call to a patient being here can be an hour and a half, an hour. So that's the whole key with this. This is now. This is immediate. This is assessing these people. Some people come in, we'll keep them for 6 hours, but they're so ill they need to be admitted, and that does happen. But at least we're giving them a try here. And again, the other thing, as the governor just said, all of the hospitals now are working with us to bring their patients not to the streets, but here. And those are usually very ill, because in this day and age, you don't stay in the hospital long. You're basically in and out, and then we have to care for them. Thank you.
Let me just break it down and make sure everybody clearly understands. So mobile crisis unit, C.O.R.E, ability to get out on the street, city, okay? Be able to pick them up, as has been aptly described this morning, take them to a place. We happen to own this building, this land, these kauhale outside, the outside, Governor Green kicked that in. The money to pay for Dr. Biskovich and his medical team and elsewhere, whether it's Catholic Charities, North Shore Medical Group, hopefully Lutheran Health Services, certainly IHS, those stipends, again, from the governor. It's a collaboration and a combination of different resources. So as the city and the state has land, we hope to be able to populate that, but this is all about treating people humanely, people especially, as you've heard now, who are really in dire need. We've talked a lot about our chronic homelessness, and it's always been, alluded to with respect to mental illness or drug addictions, which are all true. But what maybe you've heard this morning that I know was its own epiphany for me a while back when we started talking about the actual health conditions of these people, they really need that kind of help. So this is a combination of all of these resources and people here in a shared basis. We don't talk in terms of state, city, but I just want you to understand how the components come together, okay? Really, really important to make this happen. And we will do a lot of them. I like the number 30 is what I heard you say, Governor. Yeah, I think you can anticipate. Anton just mentioned we have 2 big facilities next month opening, one in Wahiawa, one in Hauula for families, not unlike what we're doing at Waikiki Vista. Leahi was a certain thing there. There's even more we can do there. Where we can, we will move people to permanent supportive housing. And when we can't, we'll continue with really chronic medical care. Okay? Any other questions?
Some of the other mayors will get a couple of them.
Oh yeah. Some of the other mayors will get a couple of the kauhale. I forgot. Yeah.
He's going to get most of them.
Yeah. Well, we have a big issue here. All right.
What is this costing? You were talking about this is city-owned property, but what is it costing to run this facility?
Well, we bought this separately, right, as part of the Evil Lake transition, okay? So this building was about $8.5 million. Evil Lake Center was about $51.5. That's a 4.5 acre parcel, which is going to be actually built into affordable housing. Ultimately, so will this. This is a great temporary use because from the time that the city acquires a property to everything you have to go through with respect to, planning, et cetera, and everything else that we're doing in the RFPs and development, we already know it's regrettably several years in the going. So in the meantime, these are great interim uses. The nice thing about these facilities here is they're all portable and they can be moved to other places, and we certainly have land, and so does the state. So this is its initial iteration. Look, I said earlier, just to give you a perspective, last week, that I think based on what I'm asking the governor for and what we think we're looking at, probably going to spend about $40 million this year, in the coming year, if you're looking for that number. But I can tell you that that offsets, and it was alluded to by Dr. Island and Dr. Miskovich, that offsets a lot of money that was being redirected and being spent elsewhere in hospitals, in emergency rooms, and for that matter, EMS, which is already taxed beyond what it should be taxed. That's why the core concept is really great. Look, I would just tell you, in the course of a year, 911 gets about, almost 1 million calls a year. And over 70% of that was directed towards things of this kind. And that was requiring an HPD to go to a scene, EMS to go. Oftentimes, if it wasn't criminal, HPD would leave, and then EMS would take them to the emergency room. They would clean them up. They would treat wounds if they had to. They would feed them, and then they were back out on the street. The cost of doing that was significant. So this is a really great investment. There's an excellent ROI on that, not the least of which is not draining on our facilities and services. Okay? Anybody else? Look, I really appreciate you being here. This is a really important story. I want to say it again. What we're doing here really matters in the life of everybody, not just the people we're helping that are in this building and elsewhere, but it matters to everybody else as well, and we're really proud of the work we're going to do. Thank you all.
I want to say one more thing, too. I do want to make another comment. We have a outstanding security company. One of the things when I designed this, working with the mayor's team, was I think that we all, and the patients and the people here, all deserve security. So our security officers are all current or former HPD or retired, and there's 2 on 24 hours a day. Everyone that comes in here You guys were given the exception, but everyone that comes in is wanded, so there are no weapons here, which we feel safety is paramount. And then if you come on and you're a visitor, you have to be wanded and you have to get a visitor tag and identified. So there is a very, very good feeling of safety by these residents, which living in the streets to come in a place where you have that is a big difference. The other thing is I had security experts, and we're all on camera right now, but this is cameraed and identified 24 hours. And finally, I see Harbor back there. Hello, Harbor. This is a dog-friendly facility because if you're homeless and you have a pet, you're not going to want to give up your pet. And I know this guy by name, and his name is Harbor, and he's a good little boy.
Well, all we can say is that your team that you built, your team, very much.
Thank you.
Try to make it
I think we're going to do a walkthrough. They said we're going to do a walkthrough.